Maya Collins woke up to the sound of metal groaning and sparks flying. Her head hurt badly, and everything around her was dark, except for the red emergency lights that blinked on and off. She tried to sit up, but something heavy was pinning her. Legs down. After a few minutes of pushing, she freed herself from the twisted metal beam. The ship was completely destroyed. Maya looked around at the broken walls and scattered equipment. The Aurora's Dawn had been her home for 3 months as they traveled to the new colony world. Now it was just a pile of broken metal and glass. She called out for help, but no one answered. Maya searched through the wreckage for hours, looking for other survivors. She found empty escape pods and torn safety harnesses, but no people. Everyone had left without her. Maya found a small data pad that still worked. The last message made her stomach drop. Captain Jake Morrison had recorded an emergency log. His voice was shaky as he explained that the ship's life support was failing. They had to evacuate immediately. Maya had been missing during the head count. They searched for 10 minutes, but the toxic atmosphere was already leaking into the ship. Morrison made the choice to save the 200 people he could find, rather than risk everyone for one missing girl. She was alone on Xerion Prime, a planet that had killed thousands of colonists before. The Federation had marked it as a death. World too dangerous for any settlement. Now it was her prison. Maya gathered what supplies she could find. There were some food packs, a water recycler, basic medical supplies, and a small toolkit. She also found a tablet with information about Xerion Prime's wildlife. As she read, her fear grew worse. The planet was home to creatures called apex beasts. These animals were massive, some as big as buildings. They had killed every human who tried to live here. The crystalline forests were beautiful but deadly. The air was full of spores that could kill most aliens in hours. Even the plants were dangerous. But Maya noticed something strange. The spores that should have killed her were not affecting her at all. She could breathe the air without any problems. Her human lungs, built for Earth's harsh environment, seemed to handle Xerion Prime just fine. On her second day, Maya heard a sound that made her blood freeze. It was a deep rumbling that shook the ground under her feet. Through the broken hull of the ship, she saw something that defied belief that the Thornback Leviathan was approaching the crash site. The creature was enormous, covered in thick armor plates and razor-sharp crystal spines. It moved slowly, each step creating small earthquakes. Maya had read about these beasts. They were pure killing machines, designed by evolution to be perfect predators. Maya's first instinct was to hide, but there was nowhere to go. The ship's hull was torn open, and the beast was too close. Instead, she watched as the creature came closer. That's when she noticed something odd. The Leviathan was limping. Its left rear leg was injured, and it moved with obvious pain. Fresh wounds marked its armored hide. This apex predator had been in a fight and was hurt. Maya made a decision that would change everything. Instead of running or trying to fight, she grabbed the medical supplies and slowly approached the injured beast. Her heart was beating so fast, she thought it might explode. But she kept walking. The Leviathan saw her coming and stopped. Its massive head turned toward her, and Maya looked into eyes the size of dinner plates. She expected to see hunger or anger, but instead she saw something she never thought possible in an apex beast. She saw pain and confusion. Maya spoke softly to the creature as she came closer. She didn't know if it could understand her words, but her tone was calm and gentle. The Leviathan watched her every move but didn't attack. Using metal pieces from the ship, Maya built a simple splint for the creature's injured leg. She had learned basic first aid in school, and her xenobiology classes had taught her about different body structures. The Leviathan stood perfectly still as she worked, as if it understood she was trying to help. When Maya finished, she stepped back and waited. The Leviathan tested its weight on the splinted leg. For the first time, it could walk without pain. The massive creature looked at Maya for a long moment, then made a deep rumbling sound that seemed almost like gratitude. Instead of leaving, the Leviathan settled down near the crashed ship. Maya realized that this deadly apex beast was now protecting her. She had done something no human had ever done before. She had shown kindness to a creature that was supposed to be her enemy. That night, Maya sat by a small fire made from ship components. The Leviathan slept nearby, its massive form blocking the wind. She looked up at the alien stars and made a promise to herself. She would not just survive on this death world. She would find a way to thrive. Maya didn't know it yet, but her act of kindness had started something incredible. In the complex social networks of Zarian Prime's apex beasts, word was already spreading through scent trails and subsonic calls. A human had helped one of their own. This strange, small creature was different from the others who had come before Dot, as Maya fell asleep beside her unlikely protector. The crystalline forests around them hummed with new possibilities. The Deathworlder. Girl was about to discover that sometimes the most dangerous places hide the greatest opportunities for those brave enough to see them. 3 months had passed since Maya first helped the injured Leviathan. She had named him Boulder because of his massive size and rock-like armor. Boulder had become her constant companion and protector, following her around the crystalline forests. Like a loyal dog, except this dog was the size of a small building, Maya had learned to read the signs of Zarian Prime's complex ecosystem. The apex beasts didn't just randomly attack everything they saw. They followed strict rules about territory, hunting grounds, and social rank. Each species had its own place in the hierarchy, and they all respected certain boundaries. Boulder's territory covered several square miles of crystalline forest around the crash site. Other apex beasts avoided this area out of respect for his dominance. This gave Maya a safe zone where she could explore and learn without constant danger. She had discovered that the crystalline trees produced a sweet fruit that was not only safe for humans to eat, but actually quite nutritious. The fruits grew high up in the canopy, but Maya's human agility allowed her to climb where the massive apex beasts could not reach. In return for this food source, she often dropped fruits down to Boulder and other creatures that passed through his territory. Maya had also learned to hunt the smaller creatures that lived in the forest. They were about the size of rabbits, but moved much faster. Her human endurance gave her an advantage. While the apex beasts relied on short bursts of incredible power, Maya could track prey for hours until it became exhausted. The most important discovery was how the apex beasts communicated. They used a combination of deep rumbling sounds that Maya could barely hear, flashing patterns of bioluminescent spots on their bodies, and scent markings they left on trees and rocks. Maya began to understand the basic meanings of these signals. Low, steady rumble meant contentment or greeting. Quick flashes of light were warnings or challenges. Certain scent combinations marked territory boundaries, while others indicated that an area was safe or dangerous. Maya started using simple versions of these signals herself. One day, Maya heard distress calls coming from deep in the forest. The sounds were higher pitched than anything Boulder made, almost like the crying of a large bird. Boulder became agitated. When he heard it, pacing back and forth near the edge of his territory, Maya decided to investigate. She climbed up into the crystalline canopy, where she could see across the forest. About a mile away, she spotted the source of the calls. A young storm-winged drake was trapped under a fallen crystal formation. The creature was about the size of a large horse, with beautiful silver-blue scales and membranous wings that crackled. With electrical energy, storm-winged drakes were incredibly dangerous. Adult drakes could generate electromagnetic pulses, strong enough to shut down electronic equipment, or stop a heart. But this was just a juvenile, probably not even old enough to fly properly yet. Maya made another decision that went against all common sense. She was going to help the trapped Drake. She gathered tools from the ship and convinced Boulder to come with her to the edge of his territory. The Leviathan was reluctant to leave his domain, but he trusted Maya enough to follow her lead. When they reached the crystal formation, Maya could see that the young Drake had been caught when the structure collapsed, probably during one of the frequent seismic events that shook the planet. The Drake saw them approaching and became terrified. Its scales flashed brilliant warning colors, and small sparks of electricity danced across its wings. Maya moved slowly and spoke in the same calm voice she had used with Boulder months earlier. Using her tools and Boulder's incredible strength, Maya managed to lift the fallen crystals enough for the Drake to escape. The young creature was injured, but not seriously hurt. Maya used her medical supplies to treat a cut on its wing, all while the Drake watched her with large, intelligent eyes. When Maya finished, the Drake made a series of soft chirping sounds. That seemed like gratitude. It tested its injured wing, found that it could move properly, then looked at Maya one more time before flying away toward the distant mountains where the storm-winged drakes made their nests. Maya thought that was the end of it, but she was wrong. 2 days later, she woke to find Boulder acting strangely. The massive Leviathan was looking up at the sky and making low, warning sounds. Maya followed his gaze and saw something that made her heart race. A fully grown storm-winged drake was circling overhead. This creature was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the juvenile Maya had helped. Its wings spread wider than the crashed ship, and electricity crackled constantly around its body. This was the kind of apex beast that had terrorized Federation colonists for decades. The adult drake landed just outside Boulder's territory and folded its wings. Maya could see the intelligence in its ancient eyes as it studied her. This had to be the parent of the juvenile she had rescued. Somehow, it had tracked her scent back to this location. Maya was terrified, but tried to stay calm. She had learned that showing fear was often seen as a sign of weakness by apex beasts. Instead, she walked slowly toward the drake, stopping it. What she hoped was a respectful distance. The drake lowered its massive head and made a deep, rumbling sound similar to the ones Boulder used for greetings. Maya responded with her own attempt at the same sound. The drake's head tilted, as if it was surprised that this small human could speak even a few words of the apex beast language. Then something incredible happened. The drake reached into a pouch on its chest and pulled out a crystal fruit, one of the rare varieties that only grew on the highest mountain peaks. It dropped the fruit at Maya's feet, then stepped back. Maya understood. This was a gift, a thank you for helping the drake's offspring. She picked up the fruit and took a small bite. It was the most delicious thing she had tasted since arriving. On Zirian Prime, the drake watched her eat, then made what Maya was beginning to recognize as a sound of approval. From that day forward, Maya noticed changes in how other apex beasts treated her. Word had spread through their complex communication network that she was under the protection of both a thornback Leviathan and a storm-winged drake. Other creatures began to approach her territory, not to attack, but out of curiosity. Maya realized she was witnessing something that no human had ever seen before. The apex beasts of Zirian Prime had their own society, their own rules, and their own sense of honor. They weren't mindless killing machines. They were intelligent beings with complex social structures. She began to spend her days learning more about these incredible creatures, mapping their territories, understanding their relationships, and slowly earning their respect. Maya was no longer just surviving on the Deathworld. She was becoming part of it. 2 years had passed since Maya first set foot on Zarian Prime. The scared 16-year-old girl who had been left behind was gone, replaced by someone who moved through the crystalline forests with confidence and purpose. At 18, Maya had grown taller and stronger. Her body adapted to the planet's higher gravity and unique atmosphere. Her base of operations was no longer the crashed ship, but a network of caves in the crystal cliffs that overlooked the forest. Maya had discovered these caves during her explorations and found they provided perfect shelter from the planet's frequent storms. Boulder had helped her move salvaged equipment from the ship to her new home. The caves were now filled with her growing collection of knowledge about Zarian Prime. Maya had created detailed maps of territorial boundaries, sketched drawings of different apex beast species, and developed a crude but effective writing system to record her observations. She had also gathered samples of plants, minerals, and other materials that could be useful for tools or medicine. But Maya's greatest achievement was something no Federation scientist had ever imagined possible. She had become the mediator between different apex beast clans, helping them resolve conflicts without violence. The first major test of her skills came when two packs of Shadowclaw raptors began fighting over hunting grounds near her territory. These creatures were smaller than Boulder or the storm-winged drakes, but they were incredibly fast and hunted in coordinated groups. Their claws could slice through crystal formations like they were made of paper. The conflict started when prey became scarce due to seasonal migration patterns. Both packs claimed the same hunting ground, and their territorial disputes were getting more violent each day. Maya could hear their challenging roars echoing through the forest, and she knew that if the fighting continued, many raptors would die. Maya decided to intervene. She spent several days observing both packs, learning their hunting patterns and identifying their leaders. The raptors were initially suspicious of her presence, but they had heard through the Apex Beast communication network that she was protected by Boulder and respected by the storm-winged drakes. Using her understanding of their body language and vocalizations, Maya arranged a meeting between the two pack leaders in neutral territory. She served as translator and mediator, helping each pack understand the other's needs and concerns. The solution Maya proposed was simple but effective. Instead of fighting over one hunting ground, she suggested a rotation system. Each pack would have exclusive access to the territory for 3 days, then switch. This would give the prey animals time to recover between hunts and ensure both packs had equal opportunities. To Maya's amazement, both pack leaders agreed to try the arrangement. The Shadowclaw raptors were intelligent enough to see the logic in her proposal. Within a few weeks, the system was working perfectly, and the violent conflicts had ended. Word of Maya's success spread quickly through the Apex Beast community. Soon, other territorial disputes were being brought to her attention. She mediated conflicts between different Thornback Leviathan families, helped establish new nesting sites for storm-winged drakes, and even resolved a complex 3-way dispute over water rights during a drought. Maya developed what she called the Sanctuary Accords, a set of basic rules that all apex beasts in her region agreed to follow. The rules were simple: no killing of young or injured creatures, shared access to water sources during dry seasons, and mandatory cooling-off periods before territorial conflicts could escalate to violence. The apex beasts accepted these rules because Maya had proven herself as a fair and wise mediator. She never showed favoritism to any particular species, and her decisions always considered the needs of the entire ecosystem. Maya's reputation grew beyond just conflict resolution. She had become the planet's most skilled healer, treating injuries and illnesses that the apex beasts couldn't handle themselves. Her knowledge of human medicine, combined with what she had learned about alien biology, made her incredibly effective at helping creatures that had previously been left to suffer. or die. She had saved dozens of lives, from infected wounds to difficult births. Maya had even performed surgery on a thornback leviathan whose armor plates had been cracked in a landslide. The operation took 2 days, but the creature made a full recovery. The most dramatic test of Maya's abilities came when seismic sensors she had built from ship components detected massive underground movement. A major earthquake was building, one that would collapse the primary nesting caves of the storm-winged drakes in the northern mountains. Maya faced an impossible challenge. The storm-winged drake nests contained hundreds of eggs that were close to hatching. If the caves collapsed, an entire generation would be lost. But the nesting site was over 50 miles away, and she had less than 2 days before the earthquake hit. Maya knew she couldn't handle this crisis alone. She needed the cooperation of every apex beast species in her territory. Using her communication skills, she sent out calls for help across the entire region. The response was incredible. Thornback leviathans abandoned their hunting grounds to serve as heavy movers. Shadowclaw raptors volunteered as scouts and messengers. Even the smaller forest creatures offered to help carry supplies. Maya organized the largest cooperative effort in Zarian Prime's history. She divided the operation into teams, each with specific responsibilities. The thornback leviathans would clear debris and create new nesting spaces. The Shadowclaw raptors would carefully transport the delicate eggs. The storm-winged drakes would provide aerial reconnaissance and communication between teams. Maya herself traveled to the nesting site, riding on the back of one of the adult storm-winged drakes. The flight was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. From the air, she could see the full scope of the challenge ahead. The rescue operation began immediately. Maya coordinated between different species, translating between their various communication methods and ensuring everyone understood their role. The work was dangerous and exhausting, but every creature involved understood the importance of what they were doing. When the earthquake finally hit, all of the eggs had been successfully moved to temporary nests in safer locations. Not a single egg was lost, and the adult storm-winged drakes were able to continue caring for their young in the new sites. Maya had helped prepare. The success of the rescue operation changed everything. Maya was no longer just a mediator or healer. She had become the apex coordinator, a role that had never existed before on any planet in the galaxy. She was the bridge between species, the one who could see the big picture and organize massive cooperative efforts. The apex beasts of Zarian Prime now looked to Maya for leadership in matters that affected the entire ecosystem. She had proven that cooperation was more powerful than competition, and that intelligence and compassion could overcome even the greatest challenges. Maya had found her place in the world. She was no longer the abandoned human girl struggling to survive. She was the heart of a new kind of society, one where different species worked together for the common good. The Deathworld had become her kingdom, and she ruled it not through fear or force, but through understanding and respect. The Federation survey ship Stellar Dawn dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zarian Prime system. Captain Ryan Foster had expected this to be a routine mission to check for salvageable technology from the Aurora's Dawn crash. What he found instead would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about human potential. Dr. Lisa Park, the mission's xenobiologist, was the first to notice the strange readings coming from the planet's surface. Her instruments showed organized movement patterns among the apex beast populations, something that should have been impossible. "Captain, these readings don't make sense," Dr. Park said as she studied her screens. "The apex beasts are moving in coordinated groups. It's like they're following some kind of strategic plan." Commander Alex Stone, the ship's security chief, looked over her shoulder at the data. "Maybe they've evolved better hunting strategies since the last survey." "No, you don't understand," Dr. Park replied. "This isn't just hunting behavior. There. Building things. Look at these thermal signatures. Those are construction patterns. Captain Foster had served in the Federation for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like the data his crew was collecting. The apex beasts of Xerion Prime were behaving like an organized civilization. Take us down for a closer look, Foster ordered, but keep us at maximum safe distance. I don't want to end up like the previous expeditions. As the stellar dawn descended through Xerion Prime's atmosphere, the crew got their first visual confirmation of the impossible. Through the crystalline forests, they could see apex beasts working together on massive construction projects. Thornback leviathans were moving huge crystal formations, while shadowclaw raptors guided the placement with precision. There, Dr. Park pointed at her screen. Movement at coordinates 127.5 by 84.2. It looks like a small humanoid figure. The ship's cameras zoomed in on the location. What they saw left the entire crew speechless. A young woman was walking through the forest, surrounded by 6 different species of apex beasts. She moved with confidence and purpose, clearly in command of the situation. Is that? Commander Stone started to ask. Maya Collins, Captain Foster whispered. She's alive. The woman on the surface looked up at their ship as if she had been expecting them. She raised one hand in a gesture that was unmistakably human, then spoke to the creatures around her. The apex beasts immediately formed a protective circle around her, but their posture was defensive rather than aggressive. Captain Foster felt his heart racing. Maya Collins had been his responsibility 3 years ago. When she disappeared from the Aurora's dawn, he had made the terrible decision to evacuate. Without her, choosing to save 200 lives rather than risk everyone searching for one missing girl. The guilt had haunted him every day since. Sir, she's signaling us, the communications officer reported. She's using standard Federation hand signals. She wants us to land at specific coordinates. Foster looked at the location Maya had indicated. It was a cleared area near what appeared to be a complex of caves built into the crystal cliffs. More importantly, it was surrounded by apex beasts that were clearly waiting for their arrival. Sir, I strongly advise against landing, Commander Stone said. This could be a trap. We don't know what's happened to her mind after 3 years alone on this planet. Dr. Park disagreed. Look at the coordination between her and the apex beasts. This isn't random behavior. She's communicating with them in ways we've never seen before. We have to make contact. Captain Foster made his decision. We're going down. But we go in carefully, and we're ready to leave at the first sign of trouble. The stellar dawn landed in the clearing Maya designated. Through the viewports, the crew could see dozens of apex beasts positioned around the area, but none of them approached the ship. They were clearly following orders to keep their distance. Maya walked toward the ship alone. She looked older and stronger than when Foster had last seen her, but her eyes were bright with intelligence and purpose. She wore clothes made from crystalline fibers and carried tools that appeared to be crafted from local materials. Captain Foster, Dr. Park, and Commander Stone exited the ship together, their hands visible and weapons holstered. Maya stopped about 10 feet away from them and smiled. Hello, Captain Foster, she said. I've been expecting you. Foster felt tears forming in his eyes. Maya, I'm so sorry. We searched for you, but the life support was failing, and I had to make a choice. I've regretted it every day since. Maya's expression softened. You made the right choice, Captain. You saved 200 lives. I'm not angry with you. In fact, being left here was the best thing that could have happened to me. Doctor. Park stepped forward, fascinated by the apex beasts that were watching from a respectful distance. Maya, how is this possible? These creatures were supposed to kill anything human on sight. They're not killing machines, Maya replied. They're intelligent beings with their own society and rules. I learned to understand them, and they learned to trust me. We've built something incredible here. To demonstrate her point, Maya made a series of hand gestures and vocal sounds. Immediately, one of the thornback leviathans approached. The massive creature moved slowly and deliberately, stopping beside Maya and lowering its enormous head so she could place her hand on its armored snout. Commander Stone instinctively reached for his weapon, but Maya held up her other hand. Please don't. Boulder here is my friend and protector. He won't hurt you unless you threaten me. Boulder? Foster asked. That's what I named him. He was the first apex beast I helped, and he's been with me ever since. He's not just my protector. He's my partner. Dr. Park was recording everything with her instruments. Maya, this is revolutionary. You've achieved interspecies communication on a level we've never seen before. How did you do it? Maya smiled. I listened. I watched. I learned their language instead of trying to force them to learn mine. I showed them respect and kindness, and they responded the same way. Over the next several hours, Maya gave the Federation team a tour of her territory. She showed them the cave complex she had built with help from the apex beasts, the medical facilities where she treated injured creatures, and the communication networks that allowed her to coordinate activities across hundreds of square miles. Crew watched in amazement as Maya mediated a minor dispute between two Shadowclaw raptor packs, demonstrated her healing techniques on an injured forest creature, and coordinated a construction project involving multiple species working together. This is impossible, Commander Stone muttered as he watched a group of stormwing drakes following Maya's directions to move crystal formations into precise positions. No, Dr. Park corrected him. This is evolution. Maya has evolved beyond what we thought humans were capable of. She's become something new. As the day progressed, Maya explained her situation to the Federation team. She had created a functioning society on Zerion Prime, one that had eliminated the random violence that had made the planet uninhabitable for previous human settlements. The apex beasts now lived in harmony under her guidance, following agreements she had helped them establish. I'm not just surviving here, Maya told them as they sat around a crystal fire that evening. I'm thriving. This is my home now, and these creatures are my family. I won't abandon them. Captain Foster understood what she was telling them. Maya Collins was no longer the lost colonist they had come to rescue. She was the ruler of an impossible kingdom, and she had no intention of leaving her throne. The question now was what the Federation would do with this knowledge. Maya had proven that humans could achieve something unprecedented, but she had also created a situation that challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about human limitations and interspecies relationships. As Foster looked around at the apex beasts settling down for the night around Maya's territory, he realized that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes being abandoned can lead to discoveries that change everything. News of Maya Collins and her impossible alliance with the apex beasts of Zerion Prime spread through the Federation like wildfire. Within weeks, every major news network was running stories about the human girl who ruled the Deathworld. Scientists, military leaders, and politicians all had different ideas about what should be done with this unprecedented situation. Admiral Kate Morgan arrived at Zerion Prime 3 months after the initial contact with a full military fleet. She commanded 12 warships and carried orders from the Federation Council to establish a research station on the planet. But Admiral Morgan had her own agenda. She believed Maya's abilities could be weaponized to create super soldiers who could control dangerous alien species. Maya watched the Federation fleet arrive from her position on the Crystal Cliffs. Boulder stood beside her, along with representatives from every major apex beast clan on the continent. The storm-winged drakes circled overhead, while Shadowclaw raptors positioned themselves throughout the forest. Maya had called for a full gathering of her allies, and they had answered. Captain Foster's ship, the Stellar Dawn, served as the communication link between Maya and Admiral Morgan. Foster had spent the past 3 months documenting Maya's society and had become one of her strongest supporters in the Federation. Admiral Morgan wants to speak with you, Foster told Maya over the communication link. She's requesting permission to land a research team. Maya looked out at the 12 warships hanging in orbit above her world. She could feel the tension from the apex beasts around her. They understood that these ships represented a threat to everything they had built together. Tell the Admiral she can come down alone, Maya replied. No weapons, no research team, and no recording equipment. If she wants to talk, we'll talk as equals. Admiral Morgan was not used to being given conditions by anyone, especially not by a 20-year-old girl on a backwater planet. But the strategic value of Maya's abilities was too great to ignore. She agreed to the meeting dot when Admiral Morgan's shuttle landed in the designated clearing. She was greeted by a sight that challenged everything she thought she knew about military power. Maya stood waiting with an honor guard of apex beasts that could have destroyed the Admiral's entire fleet if they chose to attack. Miss Collins, Admiral Morgan said as she stepped out of her shuttle. I'm Admiral Kate Morgan, representing the Federation Council. We need to discuss your situation here. Maya studied the Admiral carefully. She had learned to read people and creatures through years of mediating conflicts and building trust. Admiral Morgan's body language told Maya everything she needed to know about the woman's intentions. Welcome to Zarian Prime, Admiral, Maya replied. But before we talk, you need to understand something. This is not a Federation world anymore. This is an independent planet with its own government and laws. Admiral, Morgan smiled coldly. Miss Collins, you're a human citizen under Federation jurisdiction. This planet was claimed by the Federation decades ago. You have no legal authority here. I have the authority given to me by the apex beasts who live here, Maya said calmly. They chose me as their leader, and I chose to accept that responsibility. The Federation abandoned this world and left me to die. I survived and created something new. The Admiral looked around at the massive creatures surrounding them. These are dangerous animals, Miss Collins. They've killed thousands of Federation citizens. We need to study your methods so we can prevent future attacks and develop new military applications. Maya felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice level. They're not animals, Admiral. They're intelligent beings with their own culture and society, and they're under my protection. Protection? Admiral Morgan laughed. Miss Collins, you're just one person. The Federation has the authority and the power to take control of this situation. That's when Maya demonstrated why she had become the undisputed leader of Zarian Prime's apex beasts. She raised her hand and made a specific gesture that every creature on the planet had learned to recognize. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The ground began to shake as hundreds of thornback leviathans emerged from the crystal forests. The sky filled with storm-winged drakes, their wings crackling with electromagnetic energy. Shadowclaw raptors appeared on every ridge and cliff face, their claws gleaming in the sunlight. Within minutes, the clearing was surrounded by more apex predators than Admiral Morgan had ever seen in one place. But they didn't attack. They simply waited, showing the perfect discipline and coordination that Maya had taught them. You're right, Admiral, Maya said as the demonstration continued. I am just one person. But I'm one person who has the loyalty and trust of every apex beast on this planet. Your ships are powerful, but they can't fight an entire world. To emphasize her point, Maya whistled sharply. The storm-winged drakes above them began generating electromagnetic pulses in perfect synchronization. The Admiral's shuttle systems flickered and went dark, completely disabled by the coordinated attack. Your weapons depend on electronics, Maya explained. The Stormwing Drakes can disable any technology you bring to this planet. Your ships can't target what they can't see, and they can't see through an electromagnetic blackout. Admiral Morgan realized she was facing something completely outside her experience. Maya Collins wasn't just controlling these creatures through some kind of special ability. She had built a genuine alliance based on mutual respect and shared goals. "What do you want?" Admiral Morgan asked, finally understanding that she was not in a position to make demands. Maya gestured, and the apex beasts began to withdraw to respectful distances, though they remained ready to act if needed. "I want the Federation to recognize Zarian Prime as an independent world under my leadership. In exchange, I'll share my knowledge through voluntary cultural exchange programs." "The Federation Council will never agree to that," Admiral Morgan replied. Maya smiled. "Then the Federation Council will have to explain to the galaxy why they're trying to destroy the first successful human apex beast alliance in history. Dr. Park's reports have already been distributed to every major scientific institution. The galaxy is watching, Admiral." Over the following days, Maya demonstrated the full extent of what she had accomplished on Zarian Prime. She showed Admiral Morgan the sustainable ecosystem she had helped create, the conflict resolution methods that had eliminated warfare between apex beast clans, and the cooperative construction projects that were transforming the planet. Most importantly, Maya proved that her methods could be taught to others. When Captain Foster's cousin Peter Collins arrived with the next supply ship, Maya began training him basic apex beast communication. Within weeks, Peter could perform simple interactions with the smaller forest creatures and was learning to understand the territorial markers used by different species. The breakthrough came when Peter accidentally wandered into a Stormwing Drake nesting area during his training. The protective parent drakes surrounded him, their wings crackling with dangerous electrical energy. But instead of panicking, Peter remembered Maya's lessons about showing respect and staying calm. He slowly knelt down and made the submissive gesture Maya had taught him, keeping his eyes lowered and his movements slow. The drakes recognized the signal, and after a tense moment, allowed him to withdraw safely from their territory. Maya used Peter's success as proof that her abilities weren't unique to her. Any human could learn to communicate with apex beasts if they were willing to show patience, respect, and genuine desire to understand rather than dominate. Admiral Morgan found herself in an impossible position. She had come to Zarian Prime expecting to take control of a valuable military asset. Instead, she discovered that Maya Collins had created something far more important than any weapon. She had proven that cooperation between species was possible on a scale never before imagined. The final confrontation came when Admiral Morgan received orders from the Federation Council to begin orbital bombardment of the apex beast nesting sites. The Council believed that destroying Maya's allies would force her to cooperate with Federation demands. Maya learned of the plan through Captain Foster, who had intercepted the classified communications. She had less than 6 hours before the bombardment would begin. Instead of fleeing or hiding, Maya made the boldest decision of her life. She called for a planet-wide gathering of every apex beast on Zarian Prime, using the communication networks she had spent years building. Maya sent out a signal that reached every corner of the continent. The response was beyond anything Admiral Morgan could have imagined. Thousands of apex beasts emerged from their territories and began moving toward Maya's location. Thornback leviathans marched through the forests like living mountains. Stormwing drakes filled the sky in formations that blocked out the sun. Shadowclaw raptors moved in coordinated groups that looked like flowing rivers of silver. When Admiral Morgan's fleet prepared to begin the bombardment, they found their targeting systems completely disabled. Hundreds of Stormwing drakes had positioned themselves in the upper atmosphere, creating an electromagnetic barrier that made it impossible for the ships to lock onto their targets. But Maya's demonstration wasn't about showing military power. It was about showing unity, and the P